Listen to me, old man. Give me your Blue Eyes White Dragon card and I'll trade you all of these.
The Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game has been around for 25 years now, and in that time a myriad of different decks with different tech choices have risen to the top of the game. This is largely benefited by the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not have standard rotation, meaning that any card from the game's history at any point in time can just randomly become good out of nowhere, and just as quickly some of those cards fade away. Today I'm going to share with you 10 tech cards from the past, and even a few from the recent past, that have been kind of head-scratchers or are just forgotten at this point and are never really seen anymore. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting with number 10, we have Skullmark Ladybug. Ladybug has a pretty simple effect. When this card is sent to the graveyard, increase your life points by 1,000 points. This is a fairly recent example of a strange tech choice. Ladybug was used exclusively as a side deck option in tournament variations between August 2022 and December 2022. It would be sided in for games going into time to take advantage of the rule set giving the win to the player with more life points at the end of the final phase rather than playing out the rest of the game. You essentially could cheat the win by just dumping Ladybug, gaining 1,000 life points and passing the turn to win. Its decline in use could be partially attributed to the death of Tearlaments on the recent ban list, however it started dropping off before the ban list even came out. My best guess would be that the rise of other competitive decks made the mirror match less common, making side deck space built to combat those new threats more of a commodity. At number 9 we have Neko Main King. During your opponent's turn, when this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, it becomes the end phase of this turn. This is also a more recent tech choice option, being in use from November of 2022 up until current day. Its most effective use, in my opinion, would be the Ceruli Hand Loop Dark World deck. The loop looks to send Ceruli to your graveyard, then special summoning it to your opponent's field off of its own effect, forcing you to discard a card from your hand. On your own turn, you would look to send Silva in order to rip 2 cards from your opponent's hand off of Silva's effect, but if you were to do the hand loop effect to dump Ceruli on your opponent's turn, you could send Neko Main King instead, ending their turn instantly and passing the game back to you. It's a gimmicky combo and not nearly the most effective way to play Dark Worlds, so for that reason it will likely remain a GOAT format staple. For number 8 we have Jirai Gumo. During the battle step, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, gain 1,000 life points. You can only use this effect of Jirai Gumo once per turn. Quick effect, you contribute this card, then target one face-up monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack until the end of the next turn. Jirai Gumo was used mostly between August 2015 and October 2016 as a tech option in Cosmo builds. This was because Cosmo Town, the archetype field spell, could be used to return monsters to the hand at the cost of life points based on the monster's level that was being returned. This being a huge feature of the deck and part of what made it good, meant you were easily spending yourself down to low life points fairly quickly, and having an extra 1,000 could provide another recycle effect or two in the late game, letting you hang in there a little bit longer. The extra body for special summoning or even just as a wall, as well as the Honest-like effect, could be used to beat over big monsters in the mirror match as well. At number 7 we have Goblinberg. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Also, after that, change this card to defense position. From June 2013 to January 2019, Goblinberg was an easy tech in any rank 4 toolbox deck that was just looking for bodies to special summon with. Decks like Heroes and Lightsworn made great use of being able to get 2 summons for the price of 1 that would immediately turn into an Xyz or Link monster immediately. This card and similar cards such as Photon Thrasher eventually became phased out as new decks began including in-archetype options that could produce the same effect but with far more searchability. Number 6 is Gallus the Star Beast. You can reveal this card in your hand, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, then, if it was a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its level times 200 and special summon this card from your hand. Otherwise destroy this card. Gallus saw relatively high tournament play from June 2018 to February 2020 as an inclusion in Burning Abyss decks. It being a level 3 that could mill a card for burn damage and additional advantage made it a perfect fit in BA. It was especially useful in decks that built around Sekka's Light, as the odds of getting the special summon effect of Gallus was incredibly likely. Sekka's Light going to 1, and BA slowly declining in power relative to the meta eventually forced Gallus out of the metagame. At number 5 we have Phantom Skyblaster. When this card is normal or flip summoned, you can special summon any number of Sky Blaster tokens up to the number of monsters you control. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Sky Blaster monster you control. Sky Blaster monsters you control cannot declare an attack during the turn you activate this effect. From July 2018 to September 2019, Sky Blaster was one of the most prevalent generic token generators for Link decks of all varieties. Decks like Trickstar, Thunder Dragon, Sky Striker, Orcust, and many more could take advantage of not needing their normal summon as much as other decks by burning it to summon Sky Blaster, then make a bunch of tokens and start to Link climb from there. The decline of this card is in part due to it being put to 1 on the limited list, as well as many decks in the current game requiring non-token monsters in order to summon them, which was not so much the case early on. Number 4 is Outstanding Dog Marin. When this card is sent to the graveyard, shuffle it into your deck. Marin was only used for a short while around September of 2014. It was only really used as a tech in Shaddolls because it could be used as the light type material needed for El Shaddol Construct, and then immediately recycle itself to make another construct later. This is such a niche use that was quickly abandoned, but I'll never forget the first time I saw someone using this card and thinking to myself how simple yet effective that is. I think a tech like this is the perfect reason for why you shouldn't have standard rotation in a game, but rather allow the entire card pool to be in use and just make bans and limits as you see fit. Number 3 is Gorz the Emissary of Darkness. When you take damage from a card in your opponent's possession, you can special summon this card from your hand. You must control no cards to activate and to resolve this effect. When this card is special summoned by its effect, activate the appropriate effect based on the type of damage. Battle damage, special summon 1 Emissary of Darkness token. Its attack and defense are each equal to the amount of battle damage you took. Effect damage, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. This is easily one of the most impactful cards in the history of the game, with lasting effects still seen now from anyone that was around during the era of Gorz. Between December of 2008 and November of 2016, this card was in hundreds if not thousands of tournament-topping decks before disappearing from the meta. Even now, I still attack with the lowest attack monster I have first, just in case there's a rogue Gorz waiting on the other end, even after years of it being gone. As for its exit from the meta, 2015 was the year Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit was released, followed by the remaining Ghost Girls, ushering in a new era of hand traps that still exist in the game today. Gorz walked so Nibiru could run. On to number 2, Cardcar D. Cannot be special summoned. During your main phase 1, if this card was normal summoned this turn, you contribute this card, draw 2 cards, then it becomes the end phase. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this effect. If you had never heard of this card until now, you would probably be shocked to know that it was present in the meta from May of 2012 all the way until June of 2019. The cost is so heavy in today's game that you would likely end up being OTK'd as soon as you pass turn with an empty board. What made this card so good was that it was essentially a free +2 in the right decks. Things like Chain Burn and Artifacts played few monsters on their own turn and would set 5 and pass most of the time, meaning you lose nothing with Cardcar. Psyframe, which largely operates out of the hand on your opponent's turn, was in a similar spot. My personal favorite use of this would have to be Exodia Deep Draw. You could play Cardcar at 1, run through all of your other draw power, then end with a pot of D for the instant win. Last and most certainly least, at number 1, we have X-Saber Palomuro. When another Saber monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points to special summon this card from your graveyard. This is by far the biggest WTF tech in the game as far as I'm concerned. Its effect is meaningless and it does nothing special, but from December 2015 to May 2017, this showed up frequently in top deck lists. The reason being is that it's a level 1 Earth Tuner monster. This was relevant because most top decks were predominantly level 4, and Eteria Beast was one of the best extra deck monsters in the game due to its ability to negate spell effects. The only problem was that it required an Earth Tuner to summon, and top decks at the time didn't have such a thing. Enter this thing. Truly one of the worst good cards in the game's history. So what did you think? Were any of those tech cards things you remember playing? Did any of them you forget about? Which ones do you feel like I felt off the list? Which ones do you feel like didn't belong on the list? Let me know in the comments down below, and best of luck with all your tech choices while you're building in the future. Have a good one.